Mortars often failed when American crews adjusted their fire with precision. Some Japanese commanders began to call American mortars the most dangerous weapon of the infantry. Unlike machine guns or rifles, which could be faced with bravery, mortars offered no duel, no exchange. They were an unseen executioner, reshaping how Japanese troops viewed combat itself. The real test of the American mortar came not in theory, but in the furnace of battle. And nowhere was this more evident than in the Solomon Islands and the bloody beaches of Guadalcanal in late 1942 and early 1943. Guadalcanal was a battle of endurance. Weeks of rain, disease, and relentless assaults. The Japanese launched repeated night attacks against Marine and Army positions, often in massed banzai charges, meant to overwhelm by sheer ferocity. For the defenders holding the thin perimeter around Henderson Field was a fight for survival. Here the mortar became indispensable. American commanders pre-registered mortar fire zones along likely Japanese approach routes. At night, when Japanese troops gathered in the darkness to prepare their charges, American mortar crews were already waiting. The first shells fell silently into the jungle, erupting among tightly packed ranks. Panic followed as entire formations were torn apart before they could even reach American lines. Survivors stumbled forward, only to be met by more waves of fire raining from above. One Marine officer later recalled that mortars were the single greatest killer of Japanese infantry on Guadalcanal. The weapon turned what could have been desperate hand-to-hand defenses into controlled kill zones. Japanese troops conditioned to expect machine gun fire or bayonet resistance were stunned to find their attacks destroyed before contact was even made. The same story repeated across the Solomon Islands. At New Georgia and Bougainville, U.S. infantry used mortars to break entrenched Japanese strongpoints hidden in thick vegetation. Machine guns that would have pinned riflemen down were silenced in minutes by indirect fire. The terror was magnified by the invisibility of the weapon. Japanese soldiers often reported that they never saw the enemy until the shells began to fall. The jungle masked American positions, and the short flight time of mortar rounds left little chance to react. By the time the first explosion erupted, more were already in the air, descending in a deadly rhythm. The tactical impact was enormous. Mortars allowed U.S. forces to advance in conditions that otherwise would have required heavy artillery or airstrikes. In jungle fighting, where aircraft could not see targets and artillery could not maneuver, mortars filled the void. They provided the mobility and precision that no other weapon could match. For the Japanese,